In 2022, we saw real estate go absolutely crazy here in Utah. For the first half of the year, we saw prices increase extremely quick. That's because of low demand. Then as more homes came onto the market and interest rates rose, that demand started to fall off and we saw home prices actually come down ever so slightly throughout the second half of the year. However, we're going to be looking at some very interesting information here in this video that I think you're going to want to know about if you're looking at buying real estate here in Utah or even if you're looking at selling. So with that being said, as we jump into my computer here and take a look at this information, I'm going to be adding commentary along the way, talking about what you need to know, why the market is in this spot that it is, and where we're going to be in the next couple of months. So with that being said, my name's Cody Steck. I'm your favorite Utah realtor. I want to be your trusted real estate resource when it comes to buying or selling real estate here in the state of Utah. If you're thinking about making a move here or you already live here and you want to buy or sell real estate, make sure to reach out to me. My information's here on the screen. Call, text, or email anytime. I'd love to hear from you. So let's go ahead and jump on my computer here and take a look at this information. So for the month of December of 2022, we just finished out this month. I'm recording this here on Monday, January 2nd. And for the month of December, we saw 2,289 home sales. We saw a median sales price of $479,000, and we were seeing homes sell for roughly 93% of their original listing price. Now, this is really important information to pay attention to because take a look at this. Over the past couple of months, we've actually only seen prices come down ever so slightly, only about $11,000 or $12,000, which represents about a 2.5% drop since September. So from September, October, November, and December, these 4 months right here, prices only came down about $12,000, which is not as much as people were expecting. I know a lot of people who were saying, oh yeah, interest rates are going crazy. We're going to see prices come down drastically. And yeah, from the all-time high, they have come down, right? We hit a peak here of $540,000. So we're down about $60,000 on actual sales prices from where we were back in May. But the past 4 months have been somewhat steady, right? You could argue that, hey, we did see those prices come down in those first couple months by quite a bit, right? From, basically 3 months here, we came down 40,000. And then the last 4 months, we only came down an additional 12,000, give or take. Well, I guess 20,000 from this 500,000 number. So we did see prices come down, but not nearly as much as I think a lot of people were expecting. So, only a 2.5% drop. That's pretty interesting to see. If you actually go back and watch some of my videos from September or October of this year, I was actually saying at that time, hey, I think we'll probably see prices come down 3 to 5% over the next couple of months, right? And I was basically saying that with the intuition that it'd be over the next 3 to 6 months. We're kind of right in the middle of that. We've seen prices come down 2.5%. So far, it looks like we're actually kind of on track with what I've been saying. Now, I still stand by that going into the future. I think that we're going to see prices come down another 3 to 5% over the next 3 to 6 months. It's really going to be dependent on how much inventory there is in the market, what interest rates do, and how much demand comes back into the real estate market. Now, let's take a look at some of this other information here and see what happened in prior years. So the last thing I want to cover here is days on market. That's this last column right here. We're seeing days on market of 45, which is, yes, much higher than it was, just a couple months ago. Back here in early 2022, we were in the single digits right here. But 45 is not unheard of, right? That's actually more in line with what a normal, healthy market would be. If we come back here and take a look at December of 2021, sales are down drastically, right? We're at 4,287 home sales in December of 21. So sales are down like 45, almost 50% for this time. But yet prices are still higher, right? Even though we've seen these prices come back down, that really only takes us back to this rough pricing that we saw in January of 2022. So home prices, did fall from their all-time high, but there's still a lot of people who are not yet underwater based on today's prices. Homes were, of course, selling for more than the list price during that time, and days on market was extremely low. That's this right-hand column right here. If we come back here and take a look at 2020, sales were about the same as they were in 21. Of course, prices were much lower, but homes were still selling for slightly above the asking price. And again, days on market was in the single digits for a very long time here, actually, almost a year here where they were in that single digit range, which is pretty crazy to see. Going back to 2019, I like to look at this information because I think this is really important to actually look at what happened before the market went crazy. So back here in 2019, sales, roughly 3,700 in the month of December of 2019, which is where we like to be in December. We should be somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000. However, right now we're sitting at 2,289. So sales are down drastically. Of course, prices were much lower, but homes were selling for roughly 3% less than what they were listed for at that time, and days on market was slightly lower than what we're seeing in today's market. That doesn't really concern me because right now we're just seeing a slower market, and that's kind of what you should come to expect, as the market kind of shifts and becomes more of a buyer's market. Now, we've been looking at the median sales data here, but I want to take a look at the average sales data as well, because the average is going to take basically the total volume of real estate sold and divide it by how many sales there were, as opposed to the median, which is going to say, hey, 50% of homes sold for less than this number and 50% sold for more than this number. So as we switch this over to average information, there's 4 things I need you guys to do real quick. Number 1, check out that newsletter link in the description box below. Number 2, make sure to share this video with a friend or a family member who's interested in this type of content. Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your dad, maybe it's your spouse or your child. Just share this information. It would really mean a lot to me. Number 3, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And number 4, make sure to reach out to me if you're thinking about making a move here and you want to buy or sell real estate, or even if you already live in the area. I'd love to help you. My information is here on the screen. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at this average information here. So for the month of December, of course, home sales and the volume is going to be the same, but you can see that the sales price here was at $599,000, which is kind of where it's been since July of this year. Now, if you look at this on an average basis, what this tells me is that home prices, there's actually been more expensive homes that have been listed in the last couple months and that have sold. That's why this number is remaining high despite actual home prices coming down. So it's good to look at the median information because this tells you, hey, what's really happening in the market? How are prices fluctuating across the board? But when you look at the average, this actually shows you, hey, there's more luxury homes, there's more higher priced homes that are being listed and therefore sold. And that's why when you look at the average sales data, prices haven't really come down all that much, right? We were at 644 back here in May, which was also the high for the median sales data. And then now we're at 599, which is roughly where it's been since July of this year, right? It's kind of fluctuated up and down around that number, give or take a little bit. So the other important information here, homes are selling for roughly 8% below list price when you look at the average, and the days on market is also higher here, which doesn't surprise me, right? Because you're gonna have some homes that sell very quickly, but you're gonna have those couple of homes that have been on the market for like 2 years, right? that just don't sell because they're way overpriced. Those are really going to bring that average up. So with all that being said, let's actually talk about where the market's at and why it's in this position. As I mentioned earlier, for the last couple months, I've actually been saying, hey, I think we're going to see home prices come down just ever so slightly over the next couple of months. And that's actually what we've seen. Real estate moves very slowly, right? It doesn't see these huge fluctuations like you'll see in stock prices, like in the stock market. Real estate moves very slowly. And so to only see a 2.5% drop over the last 4 months doesn't really surprise me. And there's a couple different reasons why I think prices have actually been, kind of propped up and why they haven't come down as much as a lot of people thought they would based on those rising interest rates. Number 1 is actually that those rising interest rates have remained mostly steady over the past couple of months. Yes, they've been fluctuating, they go up, they go down, but right now they're sitting somewhere between 6 and 7%, depending on your own individual situation. Now, obviously, if those interest rates go up to 7, 8, 9%, then yes, prices are going to come down very quickly because a lot of demand will fall out of the market. But if those interest rates go down to, let's say, 5%, we're going to see those prices stay flat or potentially even increase. I know that's crazy to say, but it could happen if those interest rates come down. So that's just something to kind of keep an eye on, what's happening with interest rates. Now, number 2 is also going to be demand in the market. There's a lot of people sitting on the sideline, and as they see these prices kind of start to come down, they start jumping into the market. We're seeing more and more cash buyers in this market, and there's a lot of people who have the money who are not affected by these higher interest rates and are now locking in on these better deals for real estate here in Utah. This is really important because when you look at the inventory numbers that we're seeing, we're only sitting at about 7,800 active listings, where, that's a pretty healthy number. Usually in a normal market, we're somewhere around 10,000. So inventory is still low compared to where it normally should be. And when you take a look at that, inventory would really have to go up to like, let's say 12,000, 14,000, maybe even 16,000 homes available on the market in order to see home prices come down. There's a lot of people who are sitting in their home thinking, hey, there's no way I'm going to sell my home and then go buy another one at a much higher interest rate when home prices are still expensive, right? So there's still a lot of people who are just kind of sitting on the sidelines deciding not to do anything, and this is keeping inventory numbers low. So that's another factor that you have to consider. Across the entire state of Utah, we're still somewhere between 20 and 25,000 housing units short. This basically means that there's a lot of people who are living with family, they're doubled up, maybe 2 or 3 families in a home, or they're renting a basement apartment, or there just is a lack of housing across the board for Utah. Until that number comes closer to 0, I don't expect to see inventory numbers really affect the market all that much. The next factor I want to talk about here is going to be the unemployment rate here in Utah. Unemployment in Utah is extremely low, especially compared to the national average. Utah sits at 2.2% as of November, which is the last time we got data. So being at 2.2%, that's much lower than the national average, which I think is around 3.4%. So we're still about over a percentage point lower than the national average. And, honestly, this number would have to go up to at least 3.5%, maybe even 4.5% before we see a lot of people who have then lost their job and are unable to find another one right away and then get into trouble and say, hey, I can't make my house payment, I need to sell it. And that causes a flood of inventory into the market. If that inventory goes into the market, combined potentially with interest rates going up, we could see prices come down very quickly, because that's going to be a lot of competition in the market. You're going to have a lot of sellers who say, hey, there's 4 different homes in our neighborhood that are for sale. We need to undercut those guys in order to get our home sold right away. And they're going to end up doing that. And that's going to bring prices down very, very quickly. I think this also applies for builders. Right now, we're seeing builders come down substantially on their prices. However, they're not always putting that information onto the MLS. So the information that we look at here may not be an exact representation of what's happening with the new build community. If you look at those new builds, a lot of time those builders will actually hold that inventory back. They hold that data from the MLS because they don't want to negatively impact the rest of the neighborhood. So whether you like it or not, it does happen. So with that being said, guys, that kind of wraps up why the market is where it is. I do think that prices are going to come down another 3 to 5% over the next 3 to 6 months. We'll have to see. It's going to be largely dependent on interest rates, as well as those other factors like inventory, demand, and unemployment rate here in the state of Utah. There's still a lot of people who want to jump into the market and purchase housing. And so I think that's actually going to prop up prices. I don't think prices will come down as much as a lot of people are saying they will or hoping they will. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I guess it depends on what side of the aisle you're on. If you're looking at buying a home, maybe it's not the best thing, right? Because now you're not getting a home for as low as a price as you wish you would. But if you're a home seller, you're actually going to be in a better spot because you're going to be able to sell your home for more. That being said, there's still a ton of demand, and I think that real estate is still a very safe long-term play, especially here in Utah. People want to live here. It's a great place to live. And so if you're looking at buying, I still think it could make sense based on your own individual situation. So with that said, guys, don't forget to reach out to me if you're thinking about making a move here, or you already live here and you want to buy or sell real estate. I'd love to help you. My information's here on the screen. Please share this video with a friend or family member who's interested in this type of content. And with that said, we'll catch you guys in the next one.